Kia ora koutou, nau mai haere mai, and welcome to Frogs on Friday. So today in Mahi Media, we will be going through presenteeism versus absenteeism. So first of all, we'll find out what that actually means. We'll go through some of our hot jobs, and we're talking about AI in the workplace. And to finish things off, we'll go have a look and see the results from our social media polls. So let's jump straight into Mahi Media. All right, so I said we'll jump straight into Mahi Media, but actually before we go into our topic for the day on presenteeism, I couldn't start without, I guess, mentioning that the New Zealand economy has officially entered recession in the March quarter. Now I've talked a lot about the negative press and whether or not we were talking ourselves into a recession. And then last month it looked like it was being tipped that we'd just make it through without going into, but wasn't to be. So I guess first of all, what makes a recession? So it's defined as 2 or more successive quarters of economic decline. So for the results for the March quarter, GDP dropped 0.1%, so not 1%, 0.1%. So we were tantalizingly close to getting through without going into recession, but wasn't quite to be. What does that mean for us? So economists predict that the economic slowdown will drive a loosening of the employment market. But I don't know, with unemployment still at 3.4%, and we're starting to see more movement there, but I think it's going to be more of a return to a pre-COVID labour market rather than anything too drastic or dramatic. But I guess we'll wait to see what happens there. Okay, so back to presenteeism. What is it, first of all? So what it is, I guess, when you show up for work when maybe you shouldn't. So we polled our audience and asked them that question if they were going to work even though they were too sick. And more than half of Kiwi workers said yes, that's exactly what they've been doing. What's the problem with that? Well, there's a couple of things. So one of the main things is that it's promoting germ spreading. So, you may feel fine and well to be able to go into work, but you could pass that on to others in the team who may not be as well prepared to be able to cope with that. The other big problem with, I guess, this type of behaviour is the effects that it can have on productivity. So sometimes, you might feel like, right, I'm going to soldier on, in I go, but your job performance may be lower. So if you're not working at your best, you might be more likely to make mistakes or just to be slower and to achieve less than you usually would. So I guess when you look at why this is happening, there's some pretty obvious reasons. So a big one is financial constraints. Cost of living's high. So there's some people who simply can't afford to take time off work if they either don't have enough sick leave or they don't want to use it up for a cold. And it also works into the pressure of heavy workloads. So a lot of us, we talked about burnout last week, and a lot of us are feeling the strain of trying to keep up with work at the best of times. So feel like they have to keep going even if they're not feeling at their best. And I think that the last one there, it is part of a Kiwi culture in the way. So that feeling of, I should go in and I don't want to let the team down. And, if I'm not dying, I'm going to come into the office. So I guess it's just a little bit of food for thought, and have a think on, I guess, how your decisions and actions, if you're doing the best to look after yourself, as well as the others around you in your team. So it'd be interesting to see what you think on that one. But first, let's go through and have a look at the hot jobs of the week. Okay, so first up we have a temp role based in Auckland, so an accounts assistant. This one looks like a range of different duties, so focusing on FBT and GST, as well as some bank recs, and also looks like you're helping out with the payroll team as well. What else is in there? A bit of AR, so really looking for someone who's an all-rounder and able to put in the hard yards to help out the finance team. If you've got the skills for this one, get in touch with Shavneil and our Auckland team. Okay, and the perm role for NZ this week is a distribution officer. So this one is working within the healthcare sector, medical devices and technology. So you will be working in a clean and sterile warehouse environment. But it's a little bit more exciting than your run-of-the-mill warehousing role, as you get to be exposed to some pretty cool products, and to feel like you're playing your part in people's health as well. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, get in touch with Manish from the Auckland office here. Okay, let's have a look to see what some of the hot jobs are across Australia and the UK. Okay, so I just love how the UK roles, it's a relatively new team. They've haven't been in operation all that long, but each week they've got a new and exciting role here for us to feature. So this week it's an architectural assistant. Again, if you're thinking of making the move over to the UK, get in touch with Hannah. Seems to have a lot of jobs on within the team there, or any of the consultants around Frog in New Zealand or People to People.
I'm currently working with one of Perth's top law firms who are seeking a leasing assistant to join the property and leasing team. The firm offer loads of perks and benefits, including subsidised gym membership, flexible arrangements with up to 2 days working from home, an active social club and a big focus on health and well-being. The successful candidate will assist across document management, assist with preparing and finalising leasing documentation, diary management, liaising with clients and then general administration as required. The role would suit somebody who has experience within the property and leasing space. And if you are interested in making a move this new financial year, please get in touch for a confidential chat. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm pleased to be joined by Peter Crestani, the branch manager for our Wellington office, to tell us all about AI in the workplace. Should we be scared of the robots? What's going on?
Well, there's a lot of conjecture at the moment about what's going to happen with AI, and I think there's a lot of scaremongering. There's going to be a whole lot of things going to happen with it, and a lot of it's really quite unpredictable at the moment. But there's some major things, sort of probably 3 or 4 things really that are important at the moment. One's around using AI to increase your efficiency and productivity in the workplace, using it to do all sorts of things like manual processes that you can use it for. You can do it for research. So those sort of things at the moment are really quite interesting. The second thing will be around customer experience. So which we've been on, if you've got any queries on different websites, chatbot comes up and you're typing away into it, and it's almost like you're dealing with a person, but you're really not. Some of those I think are better than others. I've had someone and go, oh my goodness, can I just talk to someone? It's just, they can be quite pedantic and, have I answered your question? No, you haven't. Can I talk to someone? Oh, here's a number. So sometimes it just doesn't work. So I think it's still really much in its infancy. The other thing is it can do a lot around cost reduction in an organisation. You can use it to look at some of the things that you would normally get someone to do. And I know we use robots and some of the things that we do on when you're applying for a job with us, and some of the things that happen in the background. And it's only as good as the person that puts the rules in. And so sometimes it works really well, and other times we're going, oh, really? How did that happen? But I think it's going to get better and better. And I think we're going to see the hockey stick kind of increase in it, where they're talking now around large data sets. So organisations that have large data sets, AI is learning about what's going on, so improving, and you have this really quick upward trajectory once it starts really learning. So there's that. The other thing in the workplace is, and I had it yesterday actually, it was quite interesting, talking with a couple of hiring managers in a government agency, and they'd had an application. They talked to the person, and the person had generated their cover letter using ChatGPT, and it was kind of okay, but not okay. And so then you've got the debate of, if this person just used ChatGPT to provide the cover letter and just didn't do anything else with it. So missed a few things, wasn't quite right. I think you can use it as a way of generating some information for you to do a draft on. The other thing, in a lot of the roles that we have here in Wellington, you've got to do a written exercise. And I think I have sort of two minds of this. Some people go, I've got to write this, I've got an hour to write on this scenario. And so you could say, okay, well, let's put them in a sterile room where they can't access ChatGPT or whatever, and they can write and you see it yourself. But on the other side of it is, what if they use ChatGPT to gather the information and then put their own lens on it and their own rational thinking to take it to a lot better stage? So, could you say that you need to do it in a sterile environment, or you go, okay, well, let's embrace this. This is going to happen, and we actually want to have people that can use ChatGPT in the workplace and then enhance it. So they use it as a sort of information gathering tool and then take it a step up. So I kind of waver at times about that. They're perhaps two different things. You might want to do it, one for just what's your critical thinking, how do you do it, your sort of natural rational thinking, and then you've got the how do you use technology to enhance it, because at the end of the day, it's going to be all pervasive, I think. So rather than trying to put our finger in the dike and stop the rising tide, we actually need to embrace it and get to higher ground.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, well, I think, it's interesting. I've used ChatGPT for a few things, and I need to get better at it and practice at it. And I'd have to say that I've had varying results. Because it's only, say, ChatGPT at the moment, it's only up until 2021. So any information that's after that time isn't included in it. So it can make a big difference. Like if you're looking at sort of employment trends, for instance, in our game, using ChatGPT is going to give you information up until 2021, not last year or the last 3 months. So those are some of the challenges, I think, but we've got to embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've been talking about burnout and how workloads are piling up, and, it's very likely that you having to take on extra responsibilities or wear several hats at work. Yeah. So I think it's a really useful tool to be able to help with that efficiency. But you can't just take the off-the-shelf version, take whatever answer it gives you and take the lot. You've definitely got to be able to customize and add your own voice to that and sense check it as well. So yeah, definitely think there's an important place for it, but be careful how you use it, I guess, as well.
Yeah, because otherwise we'll all be reading ChatGPT blogs and information, and actually what we really want to know is what is real information, and often that comes from a creative human brain, not a ChatGPT. So you've always got to really look at that and use it perhaps as some base information, and then chop and change it around. But there's certainly a lot of things that I think in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to be quite a different place that we'll, in general, work in, especially more sort of office-based kind of environments and customer interaction online. But it's still good to be able to talk to someone if something's going wrong. That's to me is a really important thing.
There's still a place for people, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Our jobs will change a bit, but I think the people part's going to be more and more important, perhaps. So we'll keep up with people.
Exactly.
You have to get a coding course, otherwise you're going to be out of work.
Okay, let's. Thanks for that, Peter. Let's have a look at the polls from last week. All right, so as I said, we were talking about burnout, and looks like, yes, definitely still a thing. So 61% said that they're feeling burnout this year. And I think that ties in nicely to what we're talking about in terms of health and wellness and how you look after yourself, and perhaps that, taking that day off when you're starting to feel sick might be the better option, rather than letting it pile up and turn into something worse, which Paulie obviously agrees with. Had 2 weeks off, feel much better. So look after yourselves. Let's have a look to see this week's poll. So, of course, we're asking about AI and what your thoughts on your experience in using it, or perhaps you've haven't used it yourself, but it's pretty easy to spot when others do, if they kind of take the whole thing and don't customize. All right, so we'll see the results of that next week. I think we just need to end this one. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back and maybe a little bit more coherent next week at the same time. Thanks for joining. Bye.